I have read a lot of books. For a while, probably about a year, I was reading a book a week. I was doing this for a very long time, and recently I've kind of more shifted into reading a lot less, but still reading a lot. The reason I've done this, I've explained in an entire other video, but basically I just wanted to focus more on the book I was reading. Overall, these books I've read, probably in the high 60s at this point, I have learned a lot. And I've broken down what I've learned and what books I have used the most into my top 5 favorite and most impactful books. So I guess I can just start off. The first book that really resonated with me and really helped me improve is The Way the Superior Man by David Deida. In this book, it talks a lot about stuff with purpose and finding your mission in life, and it was really helpful. I think you should first of all read this, but then maybe hand it off to a friend. Hand this off to someone that's close to you, because this is a very, very impactful book. It has helped me a lot in my life, especially with just a lot of the stuff with purpose and finding your own purpose and what it means to go after something, what it means to have a mission, what it means to have that purpose and kind of achieve things in your life. That's kind of a basic summary. There's a lot more that this book talks about, and I've kind of reread it a couple times, and every single time I reread it, I find new stuff that I didn't see before, and just great book. You should pick up The Way the Superior Man by David Deida. I'll leave links to all the books in Amazon in my description. That's the first one. Second book that I really enjoyed and have used in my life to try to get better at social interaction and I guess how to win friends and influence people. So the book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is a super famous book. This was written back in I think the 1940s, and it's been continually iterated and it's been improved, and the philosophies and principles in this book still apply. A lot of people will say that it's really basic stuff, and I agree, relatively it is basic stuff. It's stuff like smile, have a good handshake, say people's name. It's pretty basic stuff, but a lot of people aren't doing all this stuff. A lot of people don't really listen or do the things in this book, and this book can help a lot with social interaction. There's a lot of social interaction books, but I think if you really only want to pick one to learn how to better interact with people, pick up How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. So this is a really good one. This is my one of my top 5. Fantastic. Next book is another famous one, which is The 48 Laws of Power. This one is very detailed. It's kind of a really big book, very intense. You can get the condensed version of this one, but it's basically a lot of stories. It's a lot of stories, and it combines into a law, which a lot of the laws are I think all the laws in this book are very good. It's kind of hard to implement all of them because some of them are not very actionable, I guess you could say. But stuff like the first rule is never outshine the master. Some of my favorite ones, let me just quickly read through the back here. Always say less than necessary. I think if you want to try to learn how to arm yourself with power, arm yourself against power, pick up the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Super good book, super interesting. The stories in this book, not only are they all true stories, but they're super intriguing, and they really help you understand why the law applies, where it applies, and why it is so important that you use the law if you want to create power. So that's the third book. Really, really recommend. Once again, I'm gonna leave all these in the description. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. The next book is Subtle Art by Mark Manson. This is a fantastic book. I talked a little bit about it in a video I posted a little bit ago, but basically what this book is talking about is you are only here one time, and you can only care about so much, and your mind can only think about so much stuff, and you shouldn't get so concerned like, oh man, the coffee, they put too much milk in my coffee, or oh, it's cold, or man, I really don't like that, I don't like that my dog scratched up the couch. I don't like this stuff, and rather focus on the very few main important concerns in your life and forget everything else. Because realistically, the fact that your coffee is too cold, or all these little, tiny little things that in your life that you're so concerned about and worried about, they don't really matter. Another thing that this book talks about is the fact that every single person in history, the only thing everyone has in common is that they're gonna die one day. And it talks about this, and you are gonna die one day. You watching this video, you will die one day. I will die one day. Everyone will die. And because of that, you better make your life the best possible life you can, rather than just caring about all these little tiny things that realistically do not matter that much. So that is The Subtle Art by Mark Manson. This is the last one. I have an honorary mention after this, but The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss has a podcast I really like, but in this book, it's a lot about automation. It's not necessarily fully about how to actually build up a business and how to start a business, but it's rather how do you decrease your work hours as much as you can and get the most out of the time that you use. Like the title implies, the 4-Hour Workweek, right? So it's talking a lot about stuff like outsourcing stuff to virtual assistants and only checking your emails a certain amount of time per day. And it's really helped me with my work to kind of skip all the very unimportant tasks and only focus on the top 3 that produce 80% of the results, the 80-20 rule. And the 20% of the 20% of my results come from 80% of the work, and 80% of the results come from 20% of the work. So it only makes sense to probably do this 20% if you want to just cut down your time as much as you can. This one has been very good and very helpful with stuff with my work and trying to get the most out of my time. And then that was the 5th one. And then the honorary mention is The Charisma Myth by Olivia Fox Cabane, I think is how you say the last name. This has been a really good book. I really enjoy this. I've read it a couple times at this point, and it talks a lot about how to build charisma in yourself, how to become a more magnetic person that people want to be around. It talks about different examples of charisma, people from the Dalai Lama to Steve Jobs to presidents. It talks about how they are charismatic themselves and how to kind of use their own strategies. The charisma myth is that you're born with charisma. That's what a lot of people assume, is that you're born with charisma and you can't build charisma, which is not true. You can be way more charismatic through practice than you could be with maybe just a little bit of talent for being charismatic. Charisma is something that is built. It is not something that you are just given. So that was the honorary mention. Like I mentioned a couple times throughout the video, all the books are going to be linked in the description. I really recommend you buy them. Super good books, super helpful. Like I said, I read a couple of these several times and I keep learning new things every single time I read them. Really recommend every single book here. I can go over, maybe I'll do another video on my top 10 or something, or maybe different topics, maybe like my top 5 for fitness or health stuff, and then my top 5 for business, my top 5 for focus. I can do a lot of this stuff, but for now, these are my top 5 books that have been the most impactful in my life and the ones I have used the most. As always, strive for greatness.